One thing queer, one thing queer, one thing queer. Let's get one thing queer. Let's get one thing queer.
Hello and welcome to One Thing Queer. My name's Jenny Baton and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Kelsey Wren, and my pronouns are she, her.
We're so quippy today.
I know.
Look at us.
I know.
Sounding professional. I mean, we're almost at a year.
Yeah.
Kind of.
You killed it. No, we're not professional anymore.
Y'all love it.
Just kidding.
Just kidding.
No, but I was smiling right now when you intro because I'm like, I haven't seen you in so long.
I know, friend. We've been busy.
Dude.
Busy. You've
Yeah.
been extra busy.
I know.
Yeah.
But,
A lot going on. You got your brother next to us right
he's
now.
in the room next.
In the room next to us.
He's probably got his headphones on, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was testing it last night to make sure could record here. And he was about to go to bed. I'm like, can you just click on your keyboard to see if I can hear it in the mic?
Does he have one of those mechanical ones?
Yeah, it's like the top of the line gamer.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't hear anything. I was like, okay. And he was like, do I stop clicking? Stop clicking.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Quality control.
I had to check.
Quality control.
Yeah.
Equates to cap.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
How's your week been, friend?
It's good. It's been busy. Busy. And then we had the live. So
We did.
that was busy too, which was fun though.
It was fun.
It was. It actually gave us our idea for this episode.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been busy. And then I went to a friend's a regular birthday party. She knew about it. I went to a friend's birthday party. My dad was in town finishing up his house because they sold it.
Very nice.
The new people moved in today, which is Monday, actually.
How does that feel?
I'm fine. Sorry out there. Sorry, Mom. I hate that house. So
Yeah.
I'm like, goodbye.
Goodbye. Never passing by you again.
I really don't like that house. I actually had a weird, I don't know what it was now, but I had a weird entity thing happen there.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy was I always hated the energy. So I was there was a time I was really scared. Wow, it's a longer story, but it scared me so bad that I started staying at Bernie's house after.
Wow.
I would not spend the night there again. And my mom's like, thanks, I live here.
Thanks for leaving me behind.
Yeah. I'm like, sorry, but I can't. It was in my room. I can't stay in here anymore. So
Dang.
yeah, I was like, bye.
Was this when was this? How old were you?
19, something like that.
So it was after high school.
It was after high school, and him and I had already I don't know,
Been together.
been together for a while.
Since second grade. No, I'm just kidding.
basically. I mean, basically.
I kid.
But yeah, and I was like, nope, not staying here anymore. I actually had him come get me that night because I was like, I can't sleep here. It was 2 or 3 in the morning or something, or midnight or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, come get me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was terrified.
Holy.
Yeah, so bye house.
Bye, house. Moving on to better things. Bye. Speaking of which, you did the little. I'm sorry. Let's recoup, friend.
I can't. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good. You made me my little soundboard graph.
Yes, I did. So no more trying to find it, everyone.
Yes. So if I fuck up, that is totally on purpose.
Got it. You're gonna do it on purpose now.
No, yes. I would never.
Yeah, but that was my week. Oh, we had the full moon, moon in Scorpio, blood moon, lunar eclipse.
What did you do?
We sat outside and watched it come up over the hill, and it was the coolest thing.
That's so sick.
It was great. Bernie smoked cigars because that's what he does sometimes.
Fancy.
Yeah, and we just lit candles, and it was really, really witchy.
That's so cool,
It was
friend.
fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And hung out in the bar because it was obviously we opened up the garage and watched it. It was cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I made moon water
Same.
and I charged my crystals, cleansed
Same.
them, charged them.
Same.
I kept hearing that you're not supposed to, but I don't know. I did it.
I heard that too, but we've been fine during this energy. The only difference in this Mercury, I know, or last episode or the episode that's about to come out, we're like, watch out for this energy. But I'm like, I'm fine actually.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty okay. Him and I did a mental health check in. I'm like, how are you feeling? Because he's a Scorpio moon, and he's like, I'm good.
That's good.
He's like, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, me too. And I think it's partly because he's good that I'm good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like we're good. I'm just tired, but that's from, I think, just from working and stuff.
Yeah.
So what'd you do last week?
I went to a friend's surprise birthday party, which was really, really fun. Had a lot of fun. I've been compressed to the bone. So I am wearing compression gloves. You thought they were a fashion statement.
I did. I was like, ooh, look at you.
And yeah, no, I'm in pain. My hands have been like bugging me for like what? It's been like a week and a half.
Yeah.
2 weeks. And it got really bad on Saturday. I worked a Saturday, and I mean, I've been doing makeup for 10 years, 11 years. So I feel like it's starting to like affect my hands, just like carrying a bunch of stuff. And like, I do feel it sometimes, like when I'm carrying a lot of heavy stuff, I do feel like nerve, like tingles and stuff like that. So I'm like, I need to take care of my hands because I need them.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing compression gloves, and I also wear compression socks. And I was telling you earlier, I'm like, I just need a whole fucking compression outfit.
It's like a compression gimp suit.
Exactly. I'm really at that point. I'm like, I'm literally falling apart. I need fabric to hold me together.
I mean, that's a mood vibe.
I mean, I'm down if it makes me feel alive.
It'll like compress everything. It'll
Yeah.
suck you in all the places.
Skims what? Like, no. None of that. So that's happening.
We'd have to like zip you into a suit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then the only part of my body that is not going to have proper circulation is my face. Compression mask.
All your blood's gonna rush to your face. Wow, this is the whole thing. Anyways. Well, I'm sorry your hands hurt.
It's okay, friend.
You don't take any pain pills or nothing?
No.
No.
I don't like taking
I know.
pain medicine.
Yeah.
I'm very holistic. My mom gave me like a arnica thing, so hopefully that works.
Not even like Tiger Balm or anything?
It's kind of like Tiger Balm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to like help inflammation.
Oh.
I feel like it's also like carpal tunnel from like driving. I mean, I've spent 11 years driving like very far all the time, so I feel like it's starting to affect me.
Yeah. Well,
But other than that, I'm good.
cool.
I'm very, very happy. I'm still on the search for a place.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see a place tomorrow, so we shall see.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, that's my life.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Well, not right now with my compression gloves.
Gotcha.
Figurative.
Figurative, fingers crossed.
Yes.
I'm dead. It's been too long.
It's been too long. I guess that ends our shooting the shit.
That button says shooting the shit.
Fuck yeah. That's what it was meant for.
Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking boundaries. So before we start on this topic, we do want to do a little content warning for you all. We will be discussing like traumas and also sexual assaults. So if that is by any means triggering for you, it's okay if you don't want to listen to the episode. I just want to make sure that whoever listens to this isn't being triggered or like brings up any emotions. So feel free to go check out the rest of our episodes.
Yep. Skip and listen to the next one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this idea kind of came up from the live. We were actually having a good conversation with everybody talking about like family boundaries and boundaries in relationships and yeah, there was a lot of, we were talking about family kind of stuff, I think, during that. And it was, I don't know. I don't really have like, usually I research things.
Yeah. We're just kind of flowing.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess to piggyback off of that, or I'll explain what we were talking about. We were just talking about the boundaries of, sometimes family is difficult and you have to, like, I guess personally for Bernie and I, we always have that idea of like getting in trouble for not going to like family parties. But like the amount of anxiety we have going to those parties because they're difficult, you know, we don't always get along with the people that are there. And that's the hard part is that we're always expected to get along with our family because it's your family and, you know, it's your family, you're supposed to. And, but that's not always the case. And there's like a lot of times where I always think of that too. Like it's kind of something I learned in therapy actually is because I was telling him, like, you know, it gives me a lot of anxiety going there, especially when in the recent years when the like political climate of us talking about stuff. You know, I don't really want to hear their crap opinions, basically. You know, it's triggering. I don't want to hear that stuff, you know, because a lot of what they think pertains to me or my friends, and I don't like that. And I had told my therapist, you know, but I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't go. And he's like, you're 30 years old. Who's gonna get you in trouble? I'm like, I don't know. And he kind of expressed that like they're a family, but like we don't have to make ourselves go through that. We can put the boundary up and say, you know, this isn't really like serve me, and it's not good for me to go here. And like I would have like literal stomach aches going to like family parties sometimes, because I knew it was going to be like a problem and I don't want to deal with it. And I guess the point of that is that like we always say, well, family, but like if it's family, then why do they do this to me? Or, you know, why do I feel this way? We don't let, Bernie and I always like to say, like, I would never let a friend treat me that way. I would never be friends with anybody who treated me that way. So why is
tolerate it?
Exactly, for family. So
yeah. I feel like it has a lot to do with any type of relationship in your life. I think family is such a hard one because it's like society, and also like growing up in your beliefs. You're there's so much force in everything and trying to like maintain a relationship. But if any relationship in your life is literally triggering you to feel anxiety or to feel negative emotions, or if you feel like you're in a situation or you have a friendship or a relationship with a family member that is one-sided, and they're draining you, that is something you have to listen to, and you have to listen to your body, because you will get those symptoms like physically as well. So I feel like in that sense, that's where boundaries kind of come about. And I feel like boundaries for me kind of started with therapy. And
Same.
too. Like it was thinking of putting myself first for once.
Yeah, therapy was the same for mine, because I would explain to him, like, you know, this is what's going on and how do I deal with this, kind of, because like I had mentioned before, he was more like anxiety based, but I would like, but I feel this. And then he would be like, well, let's talk about that. Like, what brings that up? And I said, well, you know, it would be this, or family, or the interactions that I have with family members. And it's frustrating because, like, you know, oh, that's it. That's what I was going to say earlier. The one-sided thing is that, like, I've had experiences where, like, somebody wants to just, you know, give you everything that's in their head with no reciprocation, and you don't get to express yourself either. And it's could be draining, or it's also not only draining, but it's just like, okay, like there's nothing what am I supposed to do with this, kind of?
Like you feel used.
Yeah.
Like,
yes. That's a great way to put it. Because you're like, okay, I listened to you, you feel better, but now I have all of your like muck.
Exactly.
And I'm like I'm just sitting here with this, and like I need to go like release it all now, because you just pawned it off on me, basically. That's I think where there's a boundary that can be placed there, you know, if you're able to talk about it. Sometimes I think the boundary is just you quit communication. Like that's your boundary. Is no explaining or anything like that. Depending on who it is, obviously.
Yeah, I would definitely relate to that, because there have been people in my life where I feel a sense of responsibility, where it's really not my responsibility to heal anybody. Yes, I'm an energy healer, but I also have a boundary in even my own practice. You know, like I'm there to do a service, and even in friendships, like you have to have those boundaries for yourself, and then also be conscious of not doing that to someone. Because nobody owes you anything. You can, you know, be battling mental issues, you know, a mental illness, but that's nobody's responsibility. And I know it can be hard being on the other side. I know it's been very hard for me to be on the other side of like having people in my life that are going through issues mentally, and I can't really resolve them because I have so much on my plate already. And I'm dealing with my own mental issues, and I am just not responsible to nurture that. I already take care of like another human being.
Yeah.
I cannot be the end all be all for everyone. I have to be that for myself first and foremost.
Definitely.
Or if I'm going to engage in a friendship or a relationship of some sort or with my family or whoever it may be, I needed to be a give and take relationship. I cannot have a relationship with someone or a friendship with someone and it just be one-sided and it just be kind of like a dark gray cloud running around with me. I've taken it so seriously to protect my energy. That's been a big focal point in the past year and a half for me, to really, really protect my energy, because when you have empath tendencies, like, you just absorb everything and you're very sensitive to everything. So a form of self-love is protecting and building those boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say, even with your business, you're prepped to receive that energy when you're going to do a session for somebody. That's completely different than somebody, I guess, dumping like randomly on you, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a completely different scenario. So even if you are a healer, it's a different, you've prepped and you've protected and you've been ready to go. You're ready to receive that, basically.
Yeah.
So.
And it's also not my responsibility as a healer to continuously carry all of that, like, all the time.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
People have to understand, like, you go to therapy and you can like touch base with your therapist, when you need to and all of that, but not like on a daily basis. And there are boundaries along that too. There's just different ways to go about it, but
Yeah. It's definitely like I don't know. It's hard. I know that it's hard to be aware of yourself in that moment when you just need to get it out of your system. It's hard to be aware of the other person that you're basically like giving all of your, I'm going to say muck to. But I think it's important to be kind of aware and that's another part of boundaries, is you respect other people's boundaries in that way as well. And kind of, I don't know, the whole like check-in process, like, or also there's like a right time, right place thingy, but like the check-in process of like, hey, I have something I want to talk to you about or something like that. And like wait till they're like ready to receive that kind of information. Because some people, it may be really triggering for them. And it may be like, I know sometimes people make fun of like trigger warnings, but I appreciate them, because there's sometimes where I'm like, I'm having a great day. For someone like me, sometimes like one little thing will set off my entire day and I cannot bounce back, no matter how hard I try. I've been better about it lately, but like I can understand if somebody has like a specific trauma that they hearing that, I mean, it just, it messes with your whole day and with your mental health, basically. So you have to, I think on the other end, you have to be careful of what you're putting out there and what you're telling people also, and know that it's okay for that to be received by the other person, basically. Yeah. And you're not crossing their boundary.
There are resources out there for a reason. And if something isn't working for you, and we touched on this in the mental health episode, if something's not working for you, then move on to something else to see if it helps.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're battling a mental illness that is really intense, you have to want to get better. And in doing so, like, trying to find the resources. Nobody can solve your issues for you. Nobody can heal you. Yes, there's a difference between people being there for you and people temporarily fixing the problem for you. And you have to truly just want to get better. And I know it can be very difficult to get to that point, because I've been there. But if something isn't working for you, move on to something else. Try something else. Try a different thing. I know it's easier said than done, but reach out to a professional. And there are so many resources out there, especially nowadays. So
I think the reaching out to a professional is like key, because even we had that conversation with Lebec, and I mentioned it already once before because I really liked it. I'm here to like throw you a lifesaver, but like if you're swimming backwards away from it, there's nothing I can do.
Exactly.
It's like, and it's, you hear your friends out. We, like you always say, we hold space for each other. But like, I know you can't fix my mental health.
Yeah.
You know I can't fix your mental health. Like but we hold space to listen, and that's different than I think the dumping that can happen, basically.
Yeah.
Or the muck transfer, if that makes sense. But I really want to emphasize also the professional help. Like, that's what professionals are there for. And there's a lot of times I feel like when people don't know where to go or are too afraid to go to a professional, they try friends, and friends don't know what to do.
Yeah, we're not professionals.
Yeah, friends don't know what to say to help. So in turn, sometimes it's almost like you're making not that you're making it worse, but kind of like you are, because you're seeking answers from the wrong resources.
Exactly.
And that could in turn make it worse
Make
for
it
you
worse.
and make you feel more hopeless. But it's hard. It's definitely hard. Like I said, it's the only reason I knew how to reach out is because I watched somebody else reach out, and it's hard to make that call, because I've also made that call multiple times before actually but going through with it and not hanging up. But it's the same thing. You have to want to. You also, as the receiver of those kinds of conversations, you feel a little helpless yourself, because like, how do I supposed to help you? And you're not, most people aren't bad people. They want to help, but we just don't know
We
how.
don't know how to help.
Yeah.
I think the difference, and something our friendship has taught me, when I was going through a difficult time and you held that space for me, like, you did hold that space for me. And there's still been like a lot of, after that, like, I still had to go through a lot of stuff, but I had my own boundaries for myself into like what I was to tell you, because I also didn't want to like trauma dump on you or like overwhelm you with my shit, because that's not fair. And I think that's what's important. And it's such a heavy thing. I guess we touched on like the friendship aspect.
Yeah, that's the friendship. And I mean, yeah, I know you're not coming from a place of just wanting to dump all over me. It's just your genuine feelings, and you need an ear, and here's the space, here's your ear.
It's not like I'm constantly like,
but even if you were, it's for us, it's a genuine response.
Exchange.
It's exchange, and you listen when I'm having a hard time. We do that for each other. But I think we both know we cannot fix it for each other.
Yeah,
like,
and you always tell me that.
Yeah.
You're like whenever there's a challenge, you're like, I know the solution, but
like,
you got to figure it out on your own. And that honestly inspires me to work on it, because you're right.
Yeah.
Like, it is on me.
I can't. Sorry.
Nobody's
as much as I want to. I can't.
I know. Well, because there's nobody's responsible to fix your problems.
Yeah.
Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Like, nobody can fix you. Nobody can fix anything. You have to want. First of all, you have to want to fix it, and second of all, you have to fix it in some way.
I also feel like our exchanges, if we do get that, I don't know if I'll speak for myself. They're not draining.
No.
I don't think.
No.
It's different because it's not coming from a place of just you just wanting to vent, or it's not coming from a place of
Me trying to like
or
take
you
from you.
Yes, yeah. You're not trying to take my energy. You just want to be heard, or either to vent or just let out. And I think that's where it comes from.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So that's our friendship, I guess. And family, I guess, family's difficult, man. And it's I don't know, because I used to be super close when I was a kid. We were all semi-close, but at least what I thought we were when we were kids. But growing up, like, we kind of grow apart and things happen, and you start to look back at experiences and you're kind of like, wait a second, like, we weren't as close as I thought. We were just related, and it's like kind of sad to kind of think, but it's also like, actually a family member had told me that, like, because that guilty part of you of not going to the party, you have that thing where you're like, oh, well, I feel bad, but like, how come they never feel bad? Like, you feel guilty about that, and you feel guilty for like,
Setting boundaries.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard. You feel guilty for like missing out or for making them miss out on you. But
That is
yes,
it.
That's it. And it's like, but I don't want to subject myself to this just because I feel bad about it. And that's another boundary, is that you can't, that was advice from a professional. Like, it's not your fault that they're missing out on you. It's their fault because they won't change their behavior to allow you to come around.
Exactly.
And like that was something really hard to learn too. Like, but once it clicked, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess so. It's kind of that thing I was saying. I posted on my Instagram a while ago that was kind of like, there is no there's no should. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be doing that. It just is. And if you look at that situation with a fresh pair of eyes or from a different perspective, and like this is just the situation. Like it should be better because we're related, but it's not. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And you go forward from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I think for me, the biggest boundaries I've had to learn is with my dad. I feel like coming from like the situations that I grew up with, I was always kind of the pillared or the middle ground for the rockiness, I guess, around my parents' relationship. It was always like, tell your mom this, tell your dad that. And I was always like the one kind of like taking in like all this like energy that they had, like all this negative energy that they had for each other, and I was just trying to fix it. And I remember being a kid and I'm like this is all my fault if I wasn't born. Like me as a kid, I look back thinking about how I was a literal child, and I was thinking, I'm like, wow, like if I wasn't here, this wouldn't be happening. And I'm like fuck, like if I wasn't born, like we would have saved our, like I would think those things as a kid. And it could be very overwhelming for a child to be in that place. And obviously that kind of led to like, you know, my adulthood. I am still kind of dealing with like breaking the pattern of like wanting to fix everything and wanting to solve everybody's issues because that's what I know. That's what I've grown up doing. And so that is something that I'm in the process of unlearning. And in doing so, I've set a lot of boundaries. I've been very cautious of how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. I have a lot of things I need to be very strong about my boundaries with. But primarily it has been my dad. My dad, I take care of him. So it's also been a very hard situation because mine and my dad's relationship has always been kind of tumultuous. Like growing up, it was very difficult. Like him and I stopped talking for like three times. And then the last time I decided to like give our relationship a shot, I did set like small boundaries. I was like, okay, I guess not small boundaries, but like it was like the first boundaries I started to put down. I was like, you're not going to talk to me the way you talked down to me my whole life. You're not like, you have to respect me the way I'm respecting you. Simply because you're my parent doesn't mean you could disrespect me or talk down to me because I'm an adult now. And I do not tolerate that. And so in doing so, I've found so much more peace in my life in setting those boundaries, and it still like slips up here and there. It's definitely not as bad as it used to be, but now I'm working on like, my dad tends to call me a lot and I literally like set myself like a limit as to how many times a day I will pick up the phone when he calls.
That's good.
Because it's really at that point where like he would call me so much that every time like his ringtone would come on, it would like trigger me.
Yeah.
And it was like I felt like my inner child being like scared, even if it wasn't like a bad thing. But I was like, okay, it's triggering. So I started listening to that part of my body. I started listening to that part of my soul of like, okay, like this isn't serving me. You know, these feelings shouldn't be the feelings I feel every time my dad calls me. So I've set small boundaries in that sense. And one of the biggest boundaries I decided to move forward with was moving. And that's why I'm in the midst of moving. And I sat down and I spoke to him and I'm like, you know, I've reached a point in my life where I feel like because I have taken on this responsibility of taking care of you, I have to kind of put my career in the back burner. I've felt that way, and I'm not like living in LA where that is where the opportunities lie. And so I need to fully submerge myself into that if I want to get anywhere in life. Which, not to say that I'm not, but I want to be more successful. And so he surprised me when I did have this conversation with him, because he was all for it, because I explained to him the reasoning behind it. And that has been probably like the biggest step I've taken. So
Good for you.
yeah, I'm very happy about that.
Good job.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah.
I went on a whole
No.
thing.
I,
Shebang.
I do it all the time.
But I mean, yeah. And then like mom stuff. I mean, just with everyone in my family, like just setting boundaries in the sense of like respecting my sexuality. Like, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to be myself. And, I think everybody around me or in my life has kind of understood that I'm not apologizing for who I am.
Yeah.
So.
It kind of made me think when you were talking about like fixing problems. So like that's actually a boundary I've had to learn with Bernie, is that like there's a lot of times I want to fix and I listen to fix. And he's like recently with his dive into astrology has become more in tune with his emotions, which is great. And so he had expressed that like, hey, I just need you to listen. I don't need you to fix. So I've been working on it. And he's noticed, and he's like, oh, like, I can tell you're working. I'm like, it's really hard for me to not just want to fix this for you, because I obviously care about him the most. And it's like, it kills me not to be able to fix these problems. Like, trust me, it kills me not to be able to fix problems for people. But, like, I can't do that. So that's a boundary that he set up that said, he just said, I just want you to listen. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm working on it. And, like, that's a boundary that we have. We talk about those a lot in different aspects of life, obviously. And like I think it's because we're not married, so we always talk about like a lot of people like, oh, once you get married it changes, and him and I personally have always hated that expression, because it shouldn't. It should just be like, now you're legally binded together.
I don't understand that concept. Like when people say it changes, I'm like,
Yeah.
It's a piece of paper.
Well, I think so too. And I'm like, well, because I feel like a lot of people might take it as a way to control you. And like, I don't ever want to control him and he doesn't want to control me. We're very like, you don't do what you don't want to do, and vice versa. Like, or you do what you want to do. Like, within, as long as no one's getting hurt, like that's what that's our boundary. Like,
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's, but I know, because I hear people say like, oh, kind of like goals, and like, you like our relationship, which I appreciate, but I want to tell people that it took a long time to get here. Like, we've always been good. It's like great now, but it took a lot of communication to get to this point, to be able to express our feelings of, hey, I don't like this I don't like this. It took a long time to get there. So I don't like, you're seeing us now. Everyone's seeing us now. They didn't see us for the last 16 years, which it was, I mean, we've always been nice and respectful. And like, even with that, like I could, like, there's some times where I get excited or I raise my voice or something. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I totally didn't mean to raise my voice at you because it's really rude. Like, sorry. Like, that's the level of respect, because I'm like, sorry. Like, oops. And like, he'll do the same thing. Like, if he's excited, like, we don't cuss at each other. We don't like call each other names. Like, that's our boundary. Like, I've seen that growing up. I've seen, siblings relationships where they cuss at each other and they call each other names. And I'm like, I just don't understand how that's the person you love. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense to us.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, so
That's a huge boundary I have.
it's a huge one too. Like, we also like, I mean, a little dive in. We don't like touch each other's like face, like, because we both kind of feel like it's like disrespectful. So, or like put your feet on each other, like things like that, like, or like poking and prodding, like, like some people like to like tease and tickle.
Yeah.
And like, that's a boundary we both have, where it's like, that's not like, I know it's weird, but like, we both know not to do that.
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of, but it took a long time to like talk about those things. But I think that's the difference, is we both wanted to talk about them and work it out, I guess. Not that any of that is like super deal breaky, but it is if you can't respect that boundary afterwards, for sure.
Yeah, I think with relationships, like my biggest boundary whenever I'm in a relationship for sure is respect.
Mm-hmm.
And respect comes in all different forms, but I think respecting in the sense of not calling each other names and cussing at each other.
Which sounds ridiculous that you have to say that out loud, right?
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean, a lot of relationships do consist of
Yeah.
that.
If that's your dynamic and that's not a boundary for you, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I can't get on board with it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Same.
I can't.
Yeah, because if it's your person, like I don't know, like that should be the person you respect the most, in my opinion. So yeah, for me, it's definitely been that. It's basically all of like the things that I grew up with are boundaries I set now.
Yeah.
So it's the cussing, it's the yelling, it's the physical, like no violence. Like I do not tolerate that.
I've seen it too growing up to where even the poking and who I saw poking and prodding each other, you just poke each other, like pinch each other, stuff like that. Who I saw, I was like, in my head as a kid, I'm like, that's abusive. Like, I really don't want that for me. Like, not that I almost really didn't have to say a lot of those things because he also like grew up seeing stuff like that. And like, I can't imagine calling you a name. Like, even if I cuss around him, I'm like, oh, sorry. Even if it wasn't at him, I'm like, because we just have that much respect. Like, that's, like I'll get excited and I'll tell a story. And I'm like, like, okay, I'm like, I'm getting crazy now. Like, let me chill. Like when I'm like on the podcast and I'm like, fuck, because I'm like, oh, because he would never do that to me. So
Yeah.
that's our boundary. But I think also too, like even in like boundaries of like, there's boundaries of like when you're being intimate. I think like even in the past of like making people learn that like, or making past relationships learn that like no means no, those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
And like no doesn't mean convince me. It doesn't mean ask me again.
Yeah.
It means no. Those are boundaries that have definitely had, unfortunately, as AFAB people, we have to set those and learn those and sometimes have those not respected. That's really...
It's
tough.
really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since we're on this topic, yeah, I definitely have had a lot of that before coming out and being in hetero relationships. One of this is where like the sexual assault comes in. So I was 21, I believe, and I was like in a relationship, committed relationship. And it was the person like I had like lost my virginity to, and a boundary was definitely crossed. And I won't get too in depth with it, but essentially like this person very much abused me, and I felt very used. And obviously like when you're that age, you think you're in love, or you decide to be vulnerable with a certain person. As an AFAB person, you feel obligated to please, and that's like what society kind of paints for us, unfortunately, in pleasing men. And it didn't really hit me, honestly, until the Me Too movement started coming about. I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, all these people are coming forward with sexual assault stories. And at first I was like, I don't think that's ever happened to me. And then I really reflected. And I think the reason I thought it didn't happen to me was because I was in a relationship. So I'm like, how is it sexual assault if I'm in a relationship with someone? But essentially this person did rape me, and it was something that it hit me once I realized it. And I think it's something that a lot of AFAB people have to battle with, unfortunately, with setting those boundaries, especially in relationships. It could be really, really tricky, especially if you're young and, naive, and like you're very vulnerable. So, especially if you're dating someone that's older. This person was 4 years older than me. So it could be very, very intense. And I know we may have younger listeners. So like if you're ever in a place where you feel like you don't want to do something, just remember that you can get out. And if you feel unsafe, try to get help, because it's not okay for anybody to pass a boundary you set, no matter who it is, no matter how in love you are, no matter what. nobody has that right. And it can happen in queer relationships as well. It can happen in any type of relationship. So I really want to encourage you to really reflect back and think about the things that maybe you've, let pass, or maybe didn't realize that, that was actually sexual assault. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, friend.
Yeah, friend. I think since starting the podcast, I've wanted to touch base on that just because I think it's important. I think a lot of people go through it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people go through it and they know they have, but we convince ourselves we're not. We didn't because as AFAB and women, like that's what we're, I say the no means no, don't not convince me, because, a lot of, I don't know, a lot of people are taught to keep going. And I just want to say, like, because there's like kind of a lot of times where I see, we see stories in the news or whatever. Like, I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a lot of celebrity kind of gossip, and people will come forward with stories, and other people will say, like, well, like, what am I supposed to ask for consent? Like, in the middle of it? Like, yeah. You asked before. And not only that, like, there's a different way, even if it's a one night stand, you don't know this person, like, there's a way to tell if they're saying yes or not. If it's not an enthusiastic yes, then it's a no, because some people freeze and they can't say no. And I just want to put that out. Like, if it's not an enthusiastic, if they're not giving back the same energy that you've got, it's a no.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they're saying or whether they're not saying anything, like, that's, because a lot of times we'll hear that, well, they didn't say no. Well, maybe they're, terrified, and maybe they don't want to be hurt further. So a lot of times people will freeze, or they will, like, they won't say it because they're just trying to get out of there and be safe, because they're afraid something worse is going to happen. So I just want to make, like, again, not that I feel like our listeners would need to hear, but just if you're in the situation, if it's not an enthusiastic yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
It's really not that complicated to read somebody.
And I don't know about y'all, but I think consent is so hot. I think, like, when I don't know, from my queer relationship experience, I feel like asking questions like, is this okay?
Yeah.
Like, does this feel okay? Like, all of that, like, to me, that's hot. Like, when someone's asking me that, like, I think that makes me even more, like,
Well, you want to know if you're doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Like, you have to ask questions. You have to, like, learn. Like, you can't just, like, you have to ask questions and see how they're doing mentally. If you have to, like, do a little roundup beforehand, like,
that's why I say, like, even if it's like a one night stand, like, you may not know them, you may not know their body language, like, I mean, wouldn't you want to know? Like, wouldn't you want to hear, like, yeah, I'm into this? Like, or, like, even if you don't hear it verbally, if they're, like I said, if they're bringing the same energy, that's your guess. Like,
listen to their body.
Yeah, like, listen, I just don't, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess they don't, I was going to say, I don't see how people can't understand that, but I guess they don't really care about whether it's a yes or no. They just want to take what they want to take. So that is neither here nor there. But that's a really important boundary to set up also, which it's understandable if it's hard to do that, though, because it's scary. And sometimes you just want to grit your teeth and get out of it, basically. And being alive is most important. And, surviving is most important in those situations, I would think. But if it's somewhere where you can get out of there safely.
Yes. Do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
And don't be afraid to talk.
Yeah. Vocalize everything you're feeling and express yourself, because it could really save you a lot of, future hardship.
Yeah. And, like, don't be afraid to talk in your relationships about boundaries. Like, him and I basically have a philosophy too. I think I've said it before to you personally, is just, like, sometimes we'll talk about, like, like, the pictures that come with the house. they're all like kind of like nudie pictures or like butt pictures, like I don't know. And like I remember one time he was with a friend and the friend was like, oh, like shut up, like we watch a lot of pole dancing. That's just on the TV. My company does that, like we sell clothes to pole dancers. It's not really like a taboo for me at all. Like
Yeah.
we sell to pole dancers and strippers. Like it's really I see it all the time. I like go to the photo shoots, they're around me all the time.
It's an art form.
Yes, I don't, even if it wasn't, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not my business. You do you. So we watch it. It's there. It's in the bar. And I remember that he said that his friend was like, oh, like she's coming, put it away. And he was like she knows, one, and two, like if this were to like cause a problem for us, then we're not very strong, are we?
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, like, because my boundary is I don't care about that. Like, it doesn't bother me that you watch that because we watch it together. So, like,
Shocker. Shocker.
it's terrible. I'm gonna say I was telling Bernie about this episode, and he said heavy one,
It's a heavy one.
and but it made me laugh because I love that sound. But yeah, that's our thing too. Is like we know our boundaries because we talk about them, and like little things like that don't tear us apart because we've talked about it. Like
Communicate.
We communicate. I was just telling another person this. I love good communication. I almost can't thrive without good communication.
Agreed. Same.
Yeah, I can't. If you can't communicate with me, it's very hard for me to continue a relationship, friendship, anything. I need to feel like I'm heard, and I need to hear you.
Yep.
And like I want to hear like I want to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah. I feel that. I mean, that's why I think we communicate through voice text.
Yeah.
And we've been thriving since.
Not a written text in sight.
No.
Barely. If it's like late and he's trying to sleep, I'm like, okay, let me write this out so I'm not like saying a voice message.
Especially because I'm so lazy when it comes to emojis now that I'm like, I probably sound so like monotone sometimes.
No,
I try to use exclamation marks.
got it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess there's different kind of boundaries, I guess.
The important thing is to set them.
Yes. I mean, very good. I love that. That's important. Communication. Man, we say this all the time. If the majority of people would communicate and get their feelings out and talk to somebody about their feelings, we'd have a lot better world, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. Bernie talks about that. He's like, if men would just go talk about their feelings.
We talked about it on the live.
Oh, yeah. He says it all the time. He's like, if people would just, because he's very empathic and can read people very well. And he's like, I could tell you what your story is before you even tell me what you're like. I know what's going on in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a theory about me.
He figured it out with your cancer
Champagne.
Mars. Yeah.
Basically a champagne bottle.
That's your cancer Mars. We've been very into the Mars sign. We moved a couple weeks ago. It was Venus. Now it's Mars.
The trending.
Yeah. We're trying to figure it out because it's interesting because he likes it because it's like, obviously I think we both like it for the same reason where it's like there's a reason why people do the things. I'm fascinated with like why people do what they do. Like I would study like World War II for a lot in high school, like a lot. That's all I would read about constantly because I just wanted to understand why.
Yeah.
And like it fascinated me. So the astrology is another aspect.
It's a science
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah,
Science of the stars and the reasoning behind everything.
definitely.
But yeah, I think, I don't know. Do you have anything else to I know. We're on the same.
We are on the same wavelength. Nah, I think that's it. I just, I don't know. I feel like also too, like in communicating boundaries is like you also have to know when to quit. It sucks to say that, but there's sometimes like that people won't respect that or they don't want to listen, and you have to know when to cut your losses.
Yeah.
I think because
Agreed.
I've had that experience too with a family member that like there's a lot of times where he just wants to vent and I'm like, but I also want to tell you about my life. Like I want to talk to you, and like so like we've left whatever situation we're in, and I'm like, cool, I know, like you don't know anything about me. And that's not I have a need to be understood.
Yeah.
And like, that's not a two-way street. So now I'm, again, stuck with your muck. And like, I didn't even get to tell you anything about my life or even good experiences.
Yeah.
So it's hard though. It's hard because, again, family.
Especially when it's family, because I feel like I go through that with my dad
Yeah.
as well, and
Same.
I've multiple times I've told him, like, every time you call, it's like a one-sided conversation.
Yeah.
It's like la 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 la. It's never like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, how are you
They
doing?
talk at you.
They talk at you, not with you.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of relationships in my life like that, you know, with family and friends, and
Yeah.
and it can be really like sad too. Like it makes me sad sometimes because I'm
Yeah.
like, I wish I could connect with you, but you're just draining me. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. It's not a give and take, and that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's like, it's not that I want to get everything from you. It's that I want to exchange energy.
I want you to care about.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I want you to like care to ask how it's going. Like I think that's the surface level too. Is like I want you to care to ask more. Like you can ask how's work, how's that. Like
Yeah.
that's to me that's like nothing drains me more than talking about that though. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about like, hey, what do you think about this? Like
Yeah.
I want to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
so.
Brain stimulation.
Yeah, it's just really hard to have those. Not a lot of people, yeah. And it's unfortunate that like we're born into people who don't want to have those conversations, and it's a lot of one sided. And I don't know, it's hard, I don't know, it's old people stuck in their ways sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
Yeah, and it's okay. I know it can be hard, but it's okay to cut people off.
Yeah.
If it's affecting your mental health, if it's affecting your state of mind or your energy, and you feel drained around people, listen to your body, because your body will tell you exactly what those people's intentions are.
Definitely.
And I know it can be a very hard step to release those people, but I think it's really important too.
I always think about it. I'll bring it back to Billie Eilish because I've said it before, but that line in her song in Happier Than Ever where she's like, I'd never treat me this shitty. You have to like, that's your boundary. How are you going to treat yourself and make everybody rise to that level? And if they're not ready to be at that same level, like you treat me how I would treat me. Like that's how, you know, even in that, we're our own biggest critics.
Yep.
So if they're worse than that,
Yeah.
you know,
That's your
your sign. That's your boundary, I think. So, yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, you can do it out there.
You could do it. We are let's see. I'm like, let's see. I don't know which one to push now.
It's all right.
Why are you sorry?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just wanted to push a button.
I saw.
That's literally how I feel. I'm like brain fart.
Yeah, gotcha. It's been a long week, or start of the week.
Yeah.
Last week was a long week.
Yeah, last week was a long week. But
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's our boundary episode. I'm sure it won't be the first, I'm sorry, I'm sure it won't be the last.
I can almost assure you it's the first.
It is definitely the first. But yeah, if y'all have anything to input, or if you want to chat more about boundaries, hit us up. Yeah, do you want to do a card pull for everyone?
Yes.
Yay!
Of course I do.
I love that.
I know, it's so much fun.
Spirit, is it going to be a boundary
Yeah.
one? Ooh!
Oh, that was. I think
We got multiple.
Oh, it's kind of this. Oh, I think it's the same. Oh, okay. Same as one of them is the same as we've gotten.
It's the shadow.
It's the shadow one.
Very, very on trend with Mercury retrograde.
I like it though.
I
I
like
kind of like this one.
Yeah.
Normally I don't like them. I kind of like this one though. I won't do the whole thing of shadow since we've already done this one, but this one just basically says this card indicates that diving deeper into your shadow at this time will be beneficial. So, I mean, that's really good though, actually, because Mercury retrograde and the full moon is in Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of transformation. It's they literally transform around them, and I can actually say that because Bernie's a Scorpio moon, and people literally transform around him. We joke about it all the time that at his work, people come in shy, and they're by the end of them working with him, like he's pulled them out of their shells,
Yeah.
and they're like who they like different people, or they're like who they're like already were, but we're so shy before. But he just has the gift.
I love it. And then the shadow is also like releasing too. It's kind of like, it reminds me of like the Tower card.
All right. The other one. Okay, so the other one is Dare to Dream. No dream is too big for you. This card is an invitation to step wildly into your dreams, to visit them often, to ask them what they need from you. Despite what your current circumstances are, and no matter how far away you feel from your dreams, Spirit is telling you otherwise. We often neglect our dreams because we do not know how to attain them, but the process of going after them is a collaboration with the universe. If you show up for them, they will show up for you too.
That is beautiful.
I love that because I always think about that. Like, how am I going to do this? How this? Like, don't think about the how. It's
Just do it.
It's just going to do it. So, love it.
Love it.
Yay.
Thank you, friend.
Yeah, of course. Louder. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll do the socials.
Socials. Yeah, please follow us on Instagram. It's One Thing Queer, and my personal one is SpexRayX.
And my personal one is at Jenny Lynn Bouton. And if you would like to share your story or if you have an input for any of the episodes that we've done in the past, please email us at onethingqueer@gmail.com.
Yeah, and give us a follow on TikTok. Yeah, we haven't posted, but again, busy. Sorry.
Busy.
It's
It takes a lot of time.
Dude, it takes so much time.
Yeah. And we got to get all like, in quote, cute. I mean, we're always cute.
Yeah.
You know.
We have to put the effort.
Yeah, we got to put a little extra effort.
I guess. But
you
that's
know.
One Thing Queer podcast on TikTok if
Yeah.
you want to follow. But we could do lives on there too if you follow instead of just the Instagram. I like the Instagram though, but
I do too.
we could do both.
Yeah, we could do both eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think the live would help us find more people too.
Absolutely.
Very
and
cool.
We're very grateful for all of you listeners out there.
Yes.
We had been wanting to do this episode for a long time, so we hope you enjoyed it and we hope you got some insight
Yeah.
from our experiences, and hopefully we made you think. And remember to hold your boundaries.
Love it.
All right.
All right.
I guess that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of One Thing Queer. And we'll see you again next week.
Sure. Bye.
Bye. Graphics by BexUniverse.co. Music by Jacody.